Hello, I'm Barry Carpenter, Senior Pastor here at Fraser Memorial United Methodist Church, and welcome again to the Carpenter Shop. It's a forum for people who build people. We're talking with people every day at the Carpenter Shop, interesting people whose lives are passionate about other people. They have been released and freed from selfishness, and they're interested in making a difference in the world. And you meet some wonderful, exciting, motivational, but life-changing people here on the Carpenter Shop. And it's the same today. I welcome today Steve James, who is heading Kenya Relief. Steve, welcome to the Carpenter Shop today.
God bless you.
We're delighted you're here to tell the story of a whole nation of people, actually, that have won your heart. And it came out of tragedy. This started as a result of an experience with your daughter, whose name was Brittany, 19 years of age, grew up in your home, you raised her, and she was, you take it from there.
Wow, well, she was a beautiful little girl. She was the kind of glue in our family, you know, that connected all the boys and us together. And, you know, she was one of those kids that thought one person could make a difference. You know, I appreciate what you said a while ago about making a difference, people making a difference, because Brittany lived that way. You know, from the time she was a young girl, she always had a heart for missions. She wanted to be a missionary. She prayed for people, you know, when countries were suffering, and you know, it's just something she always wanted to do. And so when
let me interject here and just ask a question: how do you raise a young person in today's culture to care about other people? I mean, how was this born in her?
Well,
where did she get this?
You know, I'd like to say that we had a big role in that. You know, we did all the things you do as parents, as Christian parents in good churches. You know, we spent time with her. We read Scripture. She was involved in church, and we prayed with her a lot. You know, but you know, it turned out that she was the one who had the great faith. You know, she was the prayer warrior as a child in our family. She was someone you could always call on to pray as a little girl, and you know, God always seemed to respond to her prayers.
And she's one of how many children you have? 3. One of 3. The oldest?
30. Mark's a social worker, and then he's 30, and Joshua is at Montevallo. He's an art major.
So she was the middle child? Middle child.
Yeah.
And then she went away to school, to college in North Carolina, Asheville.
Yeah.
And tragedy struck.
Well, she was in college, and you know, life was going pretty well for her. She had 2 jobs, active, was doing pretty well, and you know, we got a call one night, or one morning. We were in California. It was 3 days after 9/11, and that something was wrong, and they wouldn't tell us, you know, on the phone. But finally, I think we were driving across the Golden Gate Bridge, and you know, they told me that something happened to one of my children, and you know, I didn't think it would be Brittany. For some reason, I thought it would be one of the boys, you know, but that Brittany had died. And
they told you driving in the car.
Yeah, yeah. It was just I don't know what happened after that. I was driving, but and my wife, you know, she just went into shock, and it was a total surprise.
Before Brittany had died, Brittany had developed a passion in her life for other people. In a country called Kenya, in Africa, on the continent of Africa. And she developed a relationship, as I understand it, through the Christian Children's Fund to support a boy whose name was Newton.
Right.
And so Brittany and Newton were connected, and she was supporting him by a gift every month.
Right.
And now, after the tragedy, something changes inside of you.
Yeah. Well, you know, she woke us back up a second. She woke us up one night, middle of the night, saw a commercial. She saw children starving like you see on television. She said she wanted to do something. And we said, okay, honey, then, you know, that's fine. Well, the next day she went out and got a job. She started sending $24 a month then. So her and Newton became pen pals. And she wanted to go to Kenya, but, you know, we thought that was a little much for a teenager. So after she died, there was something that just took me over. You know, somebody told me that I should do something Brittany wanted to do or complete something that she wanted to do. So it was like God put it in me that I was going to Kenya one way or another. And so over a period of time, you know, I had a plan to go a year after her death and visit Newton. You know, see if he was real. I didn't even know if he was real, you know.
So this child, how old was Newton at that time?
He was about 6 then.
6 years old. That your daughter had been spending $24 a month of her money supporting him, and then tragedy strikes. But you felt a link with him because of Brittany's passion for him.
Yeah.
And you went to Kenya and discovered that, sure enough, Christian Children's Fund was legit and he was real. And what happened from there,
Well,
Steve?
it is an awesome organization. You know, I went to Kenya with the purpose of meeting him, but I thought since I'm a nurse anesthetist, I could do some medical missions. So I hooked up with a guy on the internet that had a hospital 10 hours from Newton's home, and he'd tell me about all his needs, and I really couldn't comprehend the depth of his need. So I collected items from our hospital. I shipped them over there.
I probably should say, you're a nurse anesthetist at Jackson Hospital.
Yes.
Here in the city of Montgomery.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place. It's
Yes,
a beautiful facility.
It is a wonderful place. We're there almost every day.
Yeah.
Many of our people from Fraser. But I'm just trying to make this worldwide connection that all started with your daughter, Brittany, and a boy. Now you find yourself as a nurse and Brittany's father in Kenya.
Yeah. Well, I went to that hospital before I'd met Newton, and I was totally overwhelmed. You know, the depth of poverty that I witnessed was, I wasn't prepared for it. You know, I worked in that hospital, and the hospital was full of people dying from AIDS, and it was just beyond what I thought I would see. And you know, there were hundreds of people coming up to me wanting help, and you know, it was just a very emotional time. But at that moment, I knew that I could never be the same. You know, I had to go home and do something. So I did meet Newton on that trip on the way out. I met him in Nairobi, and it was a joyful day. Yeah.
Does he live in Nairobi?
No, he lives north of Nairobi near Mount Kenya. He has parents. He's not an orphan, but you know, we got involved with orphans after that.
And this is 2002,
Two.
the year after.
Well, I was going to go 1 year after, but I went early when I realized the big need. I went in March after her September death.
I see.
So I went by myself.
Went by yourself, just on a sort of a fact-finding mission.
Yeah.
To trace one of Brittany's passions.
Yeah.
And you discovered a whole new world that God was calling you to and opening doors for you to be a catalyst in.
Yes.
And tell us about that catalytic conversion that you had, and I say conversion because your life was changed, right?
Yeah.
As a result of this. And you're a lay person in a church, not a pastor, but a nurse.
Yeah.
And people watching today, probably many people will say, well, what can I do? How can I have any involvement? I know my wife and I, we sponsor a child through Compassion International. And we're getting ready to go see our child. And this is just encouragement to me that we can make these connections around the world, and we really can change lives, one person at a time.
Well, what I've learned is that God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things, you know, when they're willing. And I've seen that over in my life, but I've seen it over and over and over again in the lives of people that join us and work with us. And, you know, I knew a lot about anesthesia, and that's about it, you know. But now I know about orphanages and shipping and containers and hospitals and you name it. You know, I've learned a lot.
And how to meet people's needs.
Yes.
So you came back and you were launched into a ministry. I mean, you started something that's having repercussions every day now.
Yeah.
Tell us about Kenya Relief.
Well, it started off as Brittany Ann James Newton Child Fund, and initially we had $2,000, and that was what was given at her memorial service. And you know, over time, what I did is I came home and I recruited friends.
Yes.
So 8 of us went back that September that I had my trip planned, and we worked under trees and gave out free medicine. Nurses went with me, and over the years it's grown and grown and grown. We felt the need to change it, shorten it to Brittany James Child Fund. And then later we changed it to KenyaRelief.org. That's our name, that's our website.
KenyaRelief.org. And you came back and recruited people at Jackson Hospital?
Well, that's way down the road. For the last 5 years, I've been all over the place. You know, I was the friends in Arkansas where we used to go to church. That entire community's involved. people in Hot Springs, people in Bainbridge, Georgia. It's just grown and grown and grown. You know, I went with 8 people, then 7, then 28, then 38. Last year we had 100. This year we've got 125 people going.
And so, how many people work for Kenya Relief?
Well, we only have 2 paid positions. I'm not one of them. I have a secretary and my wife works in the office for child sponsorship, but we have 35 people in Kenya that are on our payroll. We have a nurse practitioner. We started a clinic. Well, we've done so many things. I wish I had more time.
Keep going. We'll use every minute we have.
Well, we've got an orphanage. We started with.
You started the orphanage.
Yes. You know, there's 1 million orphans in Kenya, and there's 80,000 in the province that we work in, and only 500 receive assistance. So we started with 10 children. I met a man in Kenya that on my first trip named Victor. You should read the story. I'll send it to you. But he asked me to help take care of his children. That he was going to die from AIDS, and his wife had passed away. And all I could do was just put him on the list. You know, I told him I'd pray for him. So for a year, I thought about Victor. Later, I found out that he had died and left his 2 children to a grandmother that was disabled. And we found them barefoot, starving, in rags. We started an orphanage for them. And
so this is a residence facility that they live in?
We have 103 total orphans. They've lost their parents to AIDS. 8 of our children are HIV positive. Each of our children has a sponsor. So, and we're about to take 15 more children. God's provided us with 4 acres, then 17. Last week we got 43 acres. So we have 60 acres in Kenya. We have the orphanage. We have a cafeteria. We have a missionary house called the Brittany House.
Wow.
It sleeps 24 people. We have a cow barn, a chicken house. We have a clinic now, a 6,000 square foot clinic. So we've built a public school, 3 churches, done 5 wells. We have a widow's relief program, so many things.
Steve, now you're a nurse, and now you're a missionary enterpriser working on another continent. What did you do before a nurse? Were you involved in anything like this before?
Well, I've always been involved as a Christian. You know, I was an elder in my church, a deacon and an elder. I used to be involved in Promise Keepers, really big, things like that. Supported missionaries overseas, but never thought about going until this happened.
And your daughter's death and tragedy has become I call it a catalyst that opened the door for you. You and your wife are basically immersed in this.
Yeah.
You still are a nurse, however.
Yeah.
Right?
My job's getting in the way.
Yeah, I can only imagine that.
But they're really good to me there. They let me go to Kenya twice this year. So, and the hospital, we collect material. You know, when I came back the first time, we sent 1 pallet, and then we sent a 40-foot container. And since then, we're on number 13. We are loading that Saturday, and it's got relief supplies for the orphanage and hospital equipment from Jackson Hospital that's going over there to help not just us, but the other hospitals there.
And it leaves Saturday?
Yes.
And
well, it leaves Monday. We load it Saturday.
It loads Saturday and leaves Monday. And then you're going over in just a few days after that.
Well, I go in June. We've got 6 teams. We used to meet under trees. You know, we treated 15,000 patients free, brought medicines over the last 5 years. But now we have our own clinic. And last year we did our first surgeries. We did 50 cataract surgeries. And this year we've doubled the amount of ophthalmologists that are going. We have OBGYN doctors. We have ER doctors, anesthetists, nurse practitioners. There's 125 people going throughout the summer. And we've recruited, we've got about 12 positions open still if anybody's interested, you know, in joining us. And we do Vacation Bible School every year. So.
And so when people join you, when they go with you on these trips, those 125, they help raise their own money.
They do.
They raise their own funds to go, and then they bring some gifts and talent,
right,
medical or otherwise, to be a part of this team.
Yes.
So what percentage of the 125 have medical skills?
Well, 6 of our teams are medical teams, so 90% of those teams are medical. We have some support staff that would work in the pharmacy or do some other things that might not be trained, but we also have a yearly vacation Bible school that includes people from different churches. There's 16 people in that group, and last year they had 1,100 children It was just a sea of children, and they fed them the Word and food.
Let's talk just a few moments about someone who may be watching this to say, I'd like to make a difference in the world, but I'm scared of people with AIDS, or I'm scared of a foreign country. I'm scared of going to Africa, and what if I never get back? And all the fears that people can have, that most are unfounded fears.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about a person becoming, taking action in their life that has never taken action before.
Well, I'm one of those people. I never imagined that I could go and do something like that. I work with people like that. That we don't have rocket scientists and people like that in our organization. We have people that hear the voice of God, call them to ministry, and then we work together. It's something that's hard to do alone. You need other people to stand with you, and we've grown into that, the organization. So, I think, God never asks you to do something that He won't provide you the tools to do it. So, I'd say go for it, because I love my life now. I love it. And
what's the bottom line here? What is the mission? Is it to alleviate suffering? Is it to help children live in a healthy environment? Is there a Christian mission here? Do you have a mission statement for the organization?
We do. I said it in the video, it's like the best expression of my faith, the fullest expression of my faith is to see it in action. It's so easy to think something or say something, but, you need to put feet to those words, to your faith, and go out and do something. And God doesn't require much. He just requires a willing heart, and a little bit of action. So, our message just changes. God has revealed Himself over the years, and it's grown, and it changes as people come on board, because, everyone that works with us is important, we all are doing the same thing and trying to touch people's lives,
Well, when we envisioned the Carpenter Shop and having a chance to meet people who are making a difference in the lives of others, principally and specifically people who build other people, mm-hmm. who are building not just enterprises and industry or have creative ideas, but people who are making an impact on lives of people. I can't think of anybody who's doing that more than what you're doing right now, from right here in Alabama, and from an unlikely beginning. So it's a lesson to all of us as to how one person can make a difference. Mm-hmm. I think of what Mother Teresa said, that she was doing something beautiful for Jesus. Just little things that make a beautiful statement for Jesus. There are a lot of misconceptions about people with AIDS. However, Steve, as you know, being a medical leader, talk to us about the AIDS condition and the state of medicine in Kenya, and how many people are infected.
Well, they say that everyone in Kenya is either infected or affected by AIDS. Every family across the board. So the problem is so huge, and it's just devastated their country, and they have plateaued, I think, and they're making improvement now, and it's better than it has been. But it's a problem that is so big that they can't do it by themselves. It requires people joining together to make a difference, and any person out there can make a difference. And when we do that collectively, you see big change. So AIDS is it's something that we don't see every day here, but every day in Kenya, people's lives are affected by it. It's not something to fear. I really don't think about it when I'm there. People should go. And they should go.
Talking about people should go, how can they go? How can they get involved in KenyaRelief.org?
Well, we have a website, KenyaRelief.org. There's a mailing list on there. They can join on
sign
that.
up and subscribe to the mailing list.
That's right. We have several things that go on throughout the year where we collect school supplies, we collect clothing for children and all that, and we're just finishing this cycle. But we'll repeat that.
So they can
again.
identify themselves there on the website that I'd like to be a participant in making a contribution.
You can donate online. You know, we have a need right now. We are meeting the spiritual needs of the children. We're meeting their health care needs, but what we've realized is that orphan children are far behind the other children, and they need a good education. So right now we're trying to raise funds to build a school. We've built 3 classrooms, and we're halfway through that. So we're raising funds to finish that, and we could use some help with that.
Now, if persons want to go on a trip, they want to experience, you talked about taking action. So they can give, they can educate themselves about the needs, but they say, I'd like to experience this firsthand. How can they be involved in that?
Well, they've got to convince me first that
Okay.
they're the right person for the job, and when things are right, they can join a team. Or, you know, we feel like we facilitate other people to ministry. So, like we have the Brittany House is available for churches. So there may be a church out there that's looking for a way to get involved. We'd like to help them do that.
So you have churches now that are part of the team.
Yes.
I know that you put together a video that is a sort of a panorama of this ministry and tells in graphic form what this ministry is about. And I'd like for the people to see that,
Yes.
if we could show that in conclusion here. But before we do, I'd like just to pray, have a prayer for the ministry of Kenya Relief, and for you, Steve, and for all that God is doing through you. Can we do that?
Sure.
God, we give you thanks today for Steve James and for the passion that has been born in his heart out of the loss of his daughter. It only goes to show that the cross in our life can produce great things, that tragedy doesn't have to be an end in itself, and that you do, in fact, bring resurrection out of death. I thank you for what is happening in Kenya because of this family and through the ministry of Steve and his daughter Brittany and his wife. I pray your blessing upon him and all those who watch today. Show them how they can get involved in building other people through this ministry or others. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Can I say that this is the short version of the video? If they go to the website, they can watch the 13-minute version.
Okay.
Okay.
For all of you who are part of the Carpenter Shop today, we want to introduce you to KenyaRelief.org through this video in honor and in memory of Brittany. Thank you, Steve.
Like so many things in life, good things come as a result of pain and loss. You know, after she died, it was pretty clear to me, and it was something bigger than me. I had to go and do what she wanted to do in life.
The government puts it like this, that the problems bedeviling Kenyans that should be tackled are disease, poverty, and ignorance. So how would somebody help the Kenyan people, the people in my community, to tackle these problems?
Because we've been faithful with the little things, we've had opportunities to do more to address the whole problem in Kenya. Our whole community has been getting involved. We've been trying to get their whole community involved. So we've got people from their schools, their hospitals, and their churches beginning to work together, just like we are, to uplift their community.
It has caused this village to spring forth back to life, the village that was lulled, the village that was ravaged with HIV and AIDS, with many orphans and destitute children and widows. Today I can see a beehive of activities going on around, healthy children, happy children that have hope. It's all because of the effort of the team of Brittany James Child Fund. And we are so grateful. I think it's like rain after a long drought.
We don't want to bring the children to the U.S. We don't want to bring the U.S. to them. We just would like to see them have all the tools that are good so that they can even have, the best life possible, so that they can reach more people. Our goals over time are to teach them life skills that will enable them to go back into society and raise a family and contribute to their society.
We have really benefited from the ministers who are also being sent. The monies that are used when they come is not lost, as I know, because the Lord who sends them know the need that we have.
I would like to tell the people of the United States that the God who has joined us together with them to be our support in our orphan, may that God continue to be with them, and they will share their experience with others so much to help us here in Kenya.
The only thing that I can say is just God to bless Americans and help them to help other people. Especially in Kenya here, we don't have people who have the hearts like Americans.
Brittany James Child Fund and what's now become Kenya Relief is an all-around ministry. And I feel like, the best expression of my faith or our faith is to see that in action.
And I thank God that he's been able to find people in America willing to stand with him, to share with him in this vision, to reach out and bring out the philosophy of what, after all, can one person do.
When they see that somebody really cares about them, then they in turn begin to care about other people. And so even our children have become a family. I'd like to see people in America wake up, and realize that one of the reasons that we've been given so much is that because we need to give it back,
My prayer is that it continues to grow strong, continue to be focused, and continue to partner with people with the same vision who are willing to go along with them to help do more than they're doing right now.
I think Brittany, she'd be right in the thick of it if she was here. I'd have her, she'd be right out front, charging forward, doing more than her daddy's doing. Yeah.
You've been watching a locally produced program by WFRZ, Fraser Christian Television. If you would like to contact us or for information on this and other programs, please call the station at 272-8622. We welcome your comments and suggestions.